Hi, I'm Rina, and welcome to the Lessons from Post-Exit Entrepreneurs. After selling my brand communications agency, I started getting questions from people about the process of selling the company. Fellow entrepreneurs who exited their businesses also shared about their post-exit experiences. I thought about how great it would be if these conversations with such valuable insights could be shared with others too. Therefore, I launched this podcast where you will get the lowdown from entrepreneurs' collective insights in exiting their businesses, learn from their post-exit challenges, be inspired by their journeys, and their rediscovery in the pursuit of a purposeful life. Hi! My guest today is George Gan. He's a serial entrepreneur, and the first company he started grew from just 3 staff to a 300-man group with a revenue of more than US 30 million. He's known as Papa George in Entrepreneurs Organization, also known as EO, and he has been providing training globally in the areas of leadership and strategy. He shares with us his entrepreneurship journey and the multiple businesses he has built and sold. Just a quick note before we continue with the episode. You may notice a bit of background noise, which I've tried to reduce as much as possible. If you are viewing this on YouTube or the video format on Spotify, you may also notice something wrong with the camera focus, which will be improved in the subsequent episodes. Starting this podcast feels very much like a startup journey, and I've just been improving and learning as I go along. I just want to really thank you for all the wonderful feedback that I've received so far, and I strive to continue to improve as we progress. If you have any suggestions or comments, please remember to comment on whichever platform you are viewing from, or follow us on Instagram at Post-Exit Entrepreneurs and DM me. Now, let's hear from George. It's such an honor to have you with us today, George. Thank you so much for making time.
Oh, thank you, Rina.
Yeah, I know today you have a very, very long day and you have something on afterwards as well. So,
worries.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start right from the beginning. Could you share with us, for those listeners who may not know you, a little bit about your first business? Yeah.
Okay. I started my first company a long time ago. I started with a very, very small saving I have. I started with 11,000 US dollars that I saved in my working life. And at that time, IT was becoming popular in globally. So I wanted to ride on that wave. So I started a company called Hitechniaga, which is a system integrator at that time, right? And so I started on a shoestring budget, and at that time, because of my own background, I'm, my first business, I'm a first generation. The motivation was always to exit that business so that I reach a minimum standard in terms of lifestyle for me and my family. So at that time when I started the company, at the back, I've always had the idea of wanting to exit that first business or to sell the company. So the motivation was economics.
Very interesting. So from day one, since you started the company, you already knew you want to sell it?
Yeah, for the first
eventually.
business.
Wow, yeah. Okay.
So the preparation to do that was number one, to name a company that is not too personal. Like, you wouldn't form a company and name it after your son or your daughter. It's hard to sell the company. And the second thing that was important was how I wanted to perhaps plan my sales, my revenue, my profitability, so that I can design the company in a way at that time that I can show a track record of growth to get the valuation I wanted.
And what a track record you have, right? I found out that, in your first year, you said there was like 82,000 ringgit revenue.
Yeah, 83,000.
And then second year you had 1 mil already. And by the fourth year you had 8 mil. It's exponential, right? Do you still remember? Yeah, I did. So do you remember, what did you do? What were some of the methods and techniques that you used?
So I think part of it is my own desire to really be successful. But the other part is that I happened to be in the right industry at the right time. First year, as you pointed out, we were very, very small. I started with one employee, you know. I'm one of those stories whereby we started the company with no borrowings, no money. So all our furniture was from the junkyard to keep our costs down. The renovation was minimum.
Shoestring budget.
Everything was very, very little. And in my mind, I must be able to survive for 6 months without sales, right? I have no idea because I've never started a business before.
And for you to even know that, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fortunately for me, we had one sale. We started in March.
Thank goodness.
And before the end of the year, we had one sales, which is $83,000. And that sales allowed me to have enough profitability to continue that. But once you get the first sales, then things start to scale.
Yeah.
And in my second year, we grow from 83,000 to 1.1 million.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that was quite good. And the profit
Very
from there,
good.
we plow it back.
Yeah.
We were able to renovate office. I remember that, we don't have a photocopier machine. We don't have a fax machine. We don't have a conference table in our office. And we don't have aircon. So the staff
you don't have
voted,
aircon, and you live in Malaysia. How did you survive?
Well, the aircon was centralized aircon.
Okay.
So, but being in the industry, we work very, very late. So in our case, after office hour,
You turn on the fan.
we have no aircon. We have a fan. So for some of the early profit, we bought an aircon, and started to employ a second employee.
Thank goodness now we are not hot anymore.
Yeah. So this is going back a long time. So we continue to scale. The third year was 3.2 million, and then we jumped to 8 million. At about that time, although most companies would have grown organically, and I would have wanted to grow organically, but the driving motivation was that because I don't have anything, and I was sort of surviving from hand to mouth every day, I make a conscious decision that we would sell the company so that at least on a personal basis, we reach a level of financial security that my family and I can have. And then I knew that I can always start another company. So, right or wrong, I decided to do that, to sell off that company. And after selling that company, I was able to continue, but because I was the identity of the company, I stayed with the company for 2-3 years, 3 years moratorium. At that time, we continued to scale the business. So that was my first exit, and the lesson I learned at that time was that this is from an entrepreneur point of view, is that I saw 80% of the business, but in my mind, my 80% is 100%, which means that I'm happy with the 80%.
Even if you don't get the 20%
exactly,
eventually.
I do not want to be dependent on the 20%. Whatever I can get from the 20% is bonus. So I must be happy with the 80%.
That's a very important mindset, right?
Yeah, that was what worked for me. And the second thing was that I was very mindful that as an entrepreneur, once I sell the company and work in a corporate environment, things would change.
Yeah.
I will lose my independence. As an entrepreneur, we make decision that is best for the business, and sometimes do the paperwork later. But sometimes in the corporate world, exactly make decision that is best for their position in the company versus what is best for the company in terms of profitability. So I shift from being an entrepreneur into a corporate environment, and having to have the structure of a corporate was not easy for a self-made entrepreneur.
Yeah, of course.
But I was flexible, I adapted. But at the same time, the benefit I had was that I was able to learn new things that a small startup wouldn't have the resources to learn.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I was able to do the kind of things that the big corporate do.
Yeah, see
So
how they do it, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
So that was a very important part of my own personal learning as well.
Mm.
After the 3 years, there was a major initiative in Malaysia with the multi-million super corridor. And at that time, the huge valuation of IT companies globally happened. The defining moment was when Netscape went listing, you know. And when Netscape went listing, we knew that there is a very unique window of opportunity that would never be repeated again, whereby valuation of company goes
Shoot up.
multiple times in the tens, in the hundreds. And I saw an opportunity to perhaps be the Asian giant. So I needed a vehicle. So we decided to buy back the company that I sold. I sold the first company to a public listed company. And we did, you know. Unfortunately for me, there was some dispute when we bought back the company. Dispute among some of the people that I brought into the company to do the MBO and move on to the next platform. That set me back quite a bit. But mentally, as an entrepreneur, we know that being set back is part of that journey. You know? So it affected me for a couple of months, but I was able to bounce back and be able to create something new. So I created a new company with other investors, and we were fortunate enough to secure a huge project. And when we secured a huge project, I was able to regrow the business again to a significant size. The project was in the hundreds of millions.
So this would have been like the third company already by then.
Well, it was a second.
Considered still the second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first I sold.
And then management buyback.
We buy back.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out, so I created a new one.
Okay. All right.
That company was a project-based business, meaning that it's created for a sole purpose of a project, which is to build, operate, and transfer. But, you know, having said that, the business grew very, very large. Within less than a year, we have like 250 employees.
Wow.
But at a certain point, I also exited that business purely because the circumstances, the partnership, the arrangement wasn't conducive for me, and it didn't quite work out. You know, so without going to details, at that time, I decided that the best was for me to leave that operation. So the first time I exited was for economics reason.
Yeah.
The second time I exited was because the partnership was not what I wanted it to be, and it was creating a lot of personal stress for me. It wasn't in alignment with my vision. It wasn't in alignment with my core values and what I believe it to be. So I exited that business and got back whatever I put into that business. After the second exit, I had the chance to spend some time to reconsider things. I was a little bit older at that time, and sometimes when something happened, it created a new opportunity. So I had the opportunity to spend time with the family. So I have a very young family at that time, but because of the business exit, I have a period of time whereby I could focus on an area that I didn't have much time and opportunity to focus on, that is being a great father, you know. So after the exit of the second business, a lot of my energy was used to really becoming the best father I can be. So I started a lot of amazing practices, which looking back were probably some of the most successful things I've done in my life. I started a tradition where I went on a one-on-one holiday with each of my kids separately. And that was a period that I could afford the time to do that.
It's beautiful. Love that.
And that was probably amazing, because if I had not exited the second business, I would be very busy in the corporate world, doing good things, but at the same time, I would have missed the opportunity of of engaging with my children at that age, which was very, very important. So while doing that, I decided to start another company. So the third company that I started was another system integrator. I reckon that some of the happiest moment in my life as an entrepreneur was when I have a slightly smaller company, and the period of scaling up, building the culture was probably some of the most happy moments compared to a big corporate play whereby we go after a big project and then we have the kind of special arrangement with partners and go for a government project. So I started the third company and it started to grow, and it ran for many, many years. That company was a e-commerce logistic company. So we do warehousing, logistic, and so forth. It's a medium-sized company, but it was small, it was profitable, it was enjoyable. Then time catch on with me, and I reached a stage in my life whereby it was important for me to do a self-examination. I was fast approaching. I was in my 50s then, and in a wink of an eye, 25 years went by from the day I started my first company to at that time. A major thing that have affected me was that I become very sensitive about the time I have. When you reach 60 years old, you realize that looking ahead, you have limited time and energy to do things now. The typical age of an Asian male in terms of mortality is 76 years old, which means that when you reach 60 years old, you only have 5,830 days left if you live to an average age of an Asian male. And when I become very conscious of it, that given the short time that we have, I need to make sure that I spend my time wisely, effectively, and live a life by design. Meaning that you don't just be busy, you actually proactively design your life so that you live a life that you wanted, not based on voices, but based on choices that I wanted to make. And part of that process was that I wanted to exit all my IT businesses. And I have a new vision for the next 10 years that when I hit 60 years old, the life between 60 to 70 has to be very, very different. It's a very unique period whereby I would have very, very little people who are dependent on me. My children who have grown to a certain age that they are independent, so they don't depend on me. My parents would have left, and I do not need to have them dependent on me. So I can have a period whereby I'm mobile, I have resources, and I'm still very active. So the third exit I had was more for lifestyle. So it was no longer for the financial reasons. It was no longer about not being satisfied with the partnership. It was a conscious decision that I must take the bold step to really act on what I wanted to do. And running a company operationally wasn't at that time to the best of my interest. So I exited not to do nothing, but I exited to do something which in my mind is a bigger calling, a bigger purpose. And I realized that there are two things that I really, really love outside business. One is nature. I really love nature. And the second is that I love to engage leading entrepreneurs. I'm part of the entrepreneur organization, and our mission is to engage leading entrepreneurs to learn and grow. So being a leader of the organization, I feel that I'm on mission, and I resonate with that mission. It's the reason why I joined EO as a leader. So I did that. So I focus on nature, which is what I love, and I focus on engaging entrepreneurs around the world. So I became a EO facilitator, trainer, that gave me the opportunity to visit EO members around the world. So I visited 50 countries, engaged EO leaders. So in that period that I designed my life, I was able to travel, meet amazing EO leaders, so that while I teach, I also learn. And I think I grew tremendously in that period. The nature part was, I have a durian orchard, and I wanted to turn it into a lifestyle business. So I started to spend more time to understand nature, to understand farming, and I want to view it as a destination. So today, that's what I do. I continue to run my durian orchard in Bentong, Malaysia. I think I probably grow the best durian in the world.
I would love to try it next time.
Please come. And I'm building it up to be the destination that I wanted it to be. A center for learning and formation, for entrepreneurs, for youth, so that different types of communities will come to visit. And in the process of their visiting, they will have casual collision on the property and meet each other and inspire each other. So that's what I'm doing. And I continue to engage, the second part of my dream, to continue to engage leading organizations, leading entrepreneurs. And in order to do that better, I created a leadership academy in collaboration with committees in EO. So we have a chance to train leadership around the world, and as a way of life. So we train almost 1,000 tier 1 leaders in EO through formation programs. It's some of the best locations around the world, from the mountains of Machu Picchu to the safari of Kenya, to the Himalayan in Nepal, to Shangri-La in China. We run 4 days formation programs for 30 entrepreneurs at a time. So looking back, I have exited most of my businesses, and I exited them for different reasons at different times. And when you are clear about why you want to exit, you are able to design the exit a bit better. You are able to, in certain opportunity, to form companies a bit better. So that's what I have done.
Wow, thank you for that sharing. I felt like I was taken on a journey from back in 80s, right? 80s all the way to now we are in 2023. Yeah, your whole business journey so far. So I have a few questions as you were sharing. So I mean, you are a serial entrepreneur. You didn't start only one company, 2 companies or 3 companies. It's more, right? So I'm curious about some people after they have sold a company. You know, how it's not so easy to want to restart from scratch again. There is a recency biasness, I guess. Why were you so confident? And obviously it was very successful as well, your subsequent companies. Why were you so confident that whatever you have done before, you would be able to repeat again and again? Number one. Number two, the motivation and the drive, because so many years it takes for us to build a company from scratch to a certain level. And then you got to start from ground zero again, right? Of course, you've got your previous experience to help you. But what made you, have that drive and motivation that, okay, let's go, we're doing it again?
I think it's the drive comes from having a clarity of vision of what you want. That clarity of vision or that purpose create a burning desire to do something, right? So I didn't study just because I want to start a company. I have a purpose. I wanted to do something. And the company is just a vehicle of doing it, right? So I think what motivates me and what drove me was that as an entrepreneur, you see an opportunity to do something and you get excited about doing it. So it wasn't a lot, okay, let's start another company, let's figure out what we want to do. It wasn't that way. It was that, during that period, you see something happening and you say, hey,
You see an
that is
opportunity.
an opportunity. There's something that I think I can do well.
Your entrepreneur blood in you telling you to.
Yeah, so you form a company to do that versus thinking about,
Yeah.
let me form another company to do something.
Yeah.
So it was never that way.
Yeah.
The second thing is that when you start a company, there's always a discipline of wanting to make something work, something successful. I guess, like all other entrepreneurs out there, it's in our DNA. It's in our DNA to really work on something and make it very, very successful to the best we can under the circumstances. So it can be a company, it can be a project, it can be anything. It can be growing durians,
Yeah.
So being able to have a mindset of wanting to do something and being able to focus all your energy at it and create that self-motivating burning desire to make a giant of it is something that makes us entrepreneurs. And I do not mean that to do something successful or big has to be financially big or compared to other people. It's about doing something that is successful based on your own potential, right? If I'm an entrepreneur or there's an entrepreneur that wanted to build a cafe, and if he or she is very happy to build a cafe that gives that kind of lifestyle, that is success. It doesn't have to be 100 cafes. It could be one boutique cafe that has a destination that is popular, that is unique, and that can make that entrepreneur very successful, and that create that desire for him or her. So likewise, like to do something in my orchard right now, I'm still designing and expanding it to build a destination, a global destination for learning and formation, to build a place where people and community can gather and learn from each other, that can mix in that kind of setup, is something that drives me tremendously, and it's not the biggest project in the world, but it is something that I feel allowed me to reach my potential at this stage of my life, and that's a dream that I have. So your topic about your conversation about exiting a business, to me, I was very lucky. I have some successful exit. I also had some failure. During the time, I did a company to do fruits, to sell durians and mangoes, and I had the passion, I had the interest, but I didn't have the skill. So I was being romantic about creating a local destination for local fruits, and sell direct to from orchard to supermarkets and farm. And it didn't work out for me because it wasn't something that I was good at. I didn't know the industry. There's so much pilferages. I didn't know that you buy 20 tons of mango from Thailand. By the time you arrive in Malaysia, it's
Many
only
spoiled.
18.5 tons
Oh,
because
man. Along the journey.
So the dehydration of the fruits, allowed the weight to reduce. So there are many things that I didn't know. So it didn't work out. I move on. It's just a passion business that didn't work out. But I think if there's enough things that we do that is successful, then in general we are successful.
Okay. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Do stay tuned for part 2, where George will share with us how you can discover your identity and the differences between work-life integration and work-life balance. Till then, I'll speak to you soon.